She didn't do anything dramatic. No fight, no cold shoulder, no obvious sign. Just slightly less warm than yesterday. A reply that took a little longer. A tone that felt a degree cooler. An energy you couldn't name but felt immediately. And your mind started moving before you even realized it. What did I do wrong? Is she losing interest? Should I say something? Should I give her space? What's the right move? And here's the part that will make you uncomfortable. You weren't reacting to her. You were reacting to your own fear. The fear that if you don't fix this right now, you'll lose her. And that fear, she felt it before you even opened your mouth. That's not a relationship problem. That's a you problem. And until you see it exactly that way, you will keep losing women not because of what you said or did, but because of what you couldn't hold. Let's be brutally honest. You think of yourself as a calm man, maybe even a patient one. But watch what happens when she goes quiet for 3 hours. You check your phone, then check it again. You replay the last conversation looking for what you might have said wrong. You draft a message, delete it, draft another one. You find a reason, any reason, to reach out. And you call that caring. It's not caring, it's dependency dressed up as thoughtfulness. Her mood became your emergency. Her silence became your problem to solve. Her energy became the thermostat for your entire emotional state. You didn't lose her in a fight. You didn't lose her to another man. You lost her in the small moments, the moments where you couldn't hold yourself still and she felt the tremor underneath everything you said. Here's the belief that's destroying you. If something feels off, I need to fix it. It sounds responsible. It sounds like effort. It sounds like being a good partner. But what it actually is an inability to tolerate uncertainty, and that inability has a cost that most men never see clearly enough to address. Every time you rush to fix her mood, you tell her something she'll never forget. I cannot hold myself steady without you. Think about what that communicates, not in words, in the energy underneath every anxious adjustment, in the extra message, in the softened tone, in the question that didn't need asking. It communicates. My foundation is built on your behavior. And a man whose foundation depends on a woman's mood is not a man who creates safety. He's a man who needs it. The man who reacts first loses control first, every single time. Now, here's what nobody tells you. Being unshakable has nothing to do with being cold. It is not silence. It is not emotional distance. It is not pretending you don't feel anything. It's something far more difficult than that. It's feeling the shift, fully, completely, and choosing not to move. Reaction is instability, visible, immediate, expensive. Stillness is control, quiet, grounded, permanent. The reactive man sends a message through every anxious adjustment. My stability is something you hold. The unshakable man sends a different one without saying a single word. My stability is mine. And your mood doesn't change that. That's not arrogance. That is the single most attractive quality a man can bring to a relationship. And most men spend their entire lives never developing it. Let me show you the difference in real time. Same woman, same moment. She goes quiet, pulls back slightly. The first man feels it and moves immediately. He texts more than usual. He scans her replies for hidden meaning. He asks if everything is okay when nothing specific happened. He adjusts his tone, warmer, more careful, more controlled. He fills every silence with something, anything, because the silence is unbearable to him. And she feels all of it, not as love, as pressure, and as pressure, even when it comes from a good place, pushes people away. He created the exact distance he was trying to close. The second man notices the same shift and holds. He doesn't interpret it. He doesn't compensate. He doesn't reach. He remains exactly who he was before her energy changed, not cold, not performing calm. The same. And that sameness, under the pressure of her fluctuation, communicates something she has felt from almost no man before. He doesn't need me to be a certain way to stay grounded. One loses the frame. one holds it. The only variable is what's happening inside. Here's something most men never realize. When you react, you make small things enormous. A cooler message becomes a signal. A quiet evening becomes evidence. A shift in her tone becomes a problem that needs solving tonight. Your reaction is not a response to the situation. Your reaction becomes the situation. Emotional stability does the exact opposite. When you hold steady, small things remain small. The mood passes, the evening breathes, the dynamic finds its own level without anyone gripping it. You don't fix things by controlling them. You fix things by being stable enough that they regulate themselves around you. That's not passivity. That is the most advanced form of relational control that exists. When your internal state cannot be easily moved, everything changes. She cannot destabilize you with a mood. She cannot pull you off balance with withdrawal. She cannot test you with inconsistency and watch you scramble to pass. You become, in the truest sense of the word, difficult to influence. And here's what difficult to influence produces: not fear, not distance, respect. Deep behavioral consistent respect, the kind that builds over months and years, the kind that makes a woman realize she has never felt this safe with anyone before. Because safe doesn't come from warmth. Safe comes from knowing that the man next to you will be the same man tomorrow regardless of what today brought. Most men cannot offer that, because most men are mirrors. Warm when she's warm, cool when she's cool, confident when validated, anxious when she pulls back. Mirrors don't create safety, they just reflect. Let me tell you the thing you don't want to hear. You say you're calm, but you're not calm. You're contained. There's a difference. Calm is a foundation. Containment is a lid on something that's still boiling. And contained men leak through the extra message they almost didn't send, through the question that didn't need asking, through the slight edge in their voice when she doesn't respond the way they hoped. She reads all of it. Before you realize you gave it away, she already knows. The gap between thinking you're unshakable and actually being unshakable is exactly that leak. And that's where you're still losing. Between the moment something happens and the moment you respond, there is a gap. That gap is the only place your power lives. Most men close it instantly, react from the first feeling, move from the first impulse, send the message before the emotion has settled into something real. Start living in that gap. When you feel the pull to react, wait. Not as a game, not forever, just long enough for the reactive impulse to pass and the grounded response to become available. 1 minute, 5 minutes, an hour. In that space, one question: is this coming from stability or from fear? If it's fear, wait longer. If it's stability, move. That practice, repeated consistently, is where unshakable men are actually built, not through understanding, through the discipline of the pause. Her energy will fluctuate every day in every relationship, without exception. People carry things that have nothing to do with you. Stress, fatigue, thoughts, history. Most of her moods are not about you. But the reactive man makes everything about him. Every dip in her energy becomes a question about his worth. Every quiet moment becomes evidence of something shifting. Every fluctuation becomes filtered through one terrifying question: what does this mean about us? Most of the time it means nothing. She's tired. She had a difficult day. She's somewhere in her own head. Stop building narratives around data that doesn't require a narrative. Let her have a mood. Let the energy shift without yours following it. Let the moment pass, because most moments do, if you don't grip them until they become something else. Your emotional state belongs to you, not to her attention, not to her warmth, not to whether she texted back or how the morning between you felt. Yours. Which means you need to build it completely independently of her. Your training, your work, your purpose, your direction, the things that generate your internal state before she wakes up, and hold it regardless of how the day between you unfolds. When your foundation belongs to you, her fluctuations lose their grip. Not because you care less, because you no longer need her behavior to tell you how to feel about yourself. That is not distance. That is the only condition under which genuine intimacy is actually possible. Because you cannot be fully present with someone when you need them to be a certain way in order to feel okay. The reactive man is a mirror. We've established that. But here's what that actually costs him, long-term, inside a real relationship. She never knows which version of him she's getting, the warm one or the withdrawn one, the confident one or the anxious one, the man she fell for or the man she accidentally created by having a bad day. She cannot trust a man she cannot predict, and she cannot predict a mirror. The unshakable man has a baseline. He is consistent in a way that doesn't require everything to be going well. He shows up the same way, on the difficult days, in the friction, in the uncertainty, in the moments when nothing is resolved. That consistency, repeated, quiet, unconditional, is what produces the thing that most relationships never actually build: real security. Not the security of everything being perfect, the security of knowing, no matter what happens, the man next to you will still be him. Now, the applications, the actual behavioral shifts, not theory, execution. The first and most important thing you can train: the pause before the reaction. We covered this, but it bears repeating because it is the entire game. Every reactive decision you've ever made, every message you regretted, every conversation you forced, every moment you gave yourself away, happened in the gap you didn't take. Train the gap. Make it longer every time. Make it a reflex. Between stimulus and response, you choose. That choice is everything. Second, stop assigning meaning to fluctuations. Her mood is data, not a verdict. The moment you start building a story, stop. Ask one question: is there actual evidence here, or am I constructing this from fear? Almost always, it's the second one. Third, maintain your life regardless of the dynamic. Train on the days she's distant. Work on the days things feel unresolved. Keep your schedule, your direction, your structure, completely independent of the emotional temperature between you. This is not coldness. This is what it looks like to have a self that doesn't dissolve into the relationship. Fourth, hold your behavior consistent. Don't be warmer when you're anxious. Don't pull back when you're hurt without naming it. Don't adjust your output based on her input. Be the same man today that you were yesterday. Not because nothing affected you, but because your baseline belongs to you, not to her. Fifth, sit in uncertainty without moving toward resolution. This is the hardest one. You don't need to know where this is going today. You don't need immediate clarity. You don't need the moment resolved before you can feel like yourself. The man who can sit in unresolved tension, who can hold steady without knowing the answer, is a man that almost no one has ever encountered. And his presence, steady, unhurried, completely undemanding, creates something anxious responsiveness never could: safety. At some point, this stops being practice. It stops being something you apply in difficult moments and becomes something you simply are. You stop chasing emotional equilibrium. You stop adjusting yourself to stabilize situations. You stop needing things to feel a certain way before you can feel like yourself. The internal language transforms completely. From, I need to fix this, to, I remain stable, regardless. That shift is not small. It rewrites how you move through every difficult moment, every fluctuation, every test, every period of ambiguity. You are no longer reactive. You are grounded. And grounded men don't chase equilibrium. They produce it, simply by being the same, regardless of what surrounds them. This doesn't end with relationships. The man who stays composed under pressure makes better decisions in business than the man driven by anxiety. The man who doesn't collapse when things become uncertain is the one others move toward in leadership. The man who doesn't need the outcome holds more leverage in any negotiation than the man who does. The capacity to remain steady when everything around you is moving is one of the rarest qualities on earth. Not just in dating, in every room you enter, in every pressure you face, in every moment. Where most men break and one man holds. The one who stays steady leads. Not through force, not through volume, not through dominance, through the simple, undeniable fact of not being moved when everything else is. Go back to the beginning. Same moment, same shift in her energy, same feeling you noticed immediately. But a different man. He feels it. He doesn't ignore it. He's completely present and aware, and he doesn't move. He doesn't reach out to fix something undefined. He doesn't adjust his behavior to compensate. He doesn't make her mood a question about his worth. He continues, with his day, with his work, with himself, exactly who he was before her energy shifted. And that steadiness, quiet, unforced, completely real, does something no amount of adjustment ever could. It makes her feel safe. Not because he performed safety, because he was the proof of it. Two men. The reactive man, chasing. Balance, adjusting constantly, making her emotional state his emergency, costs himself the respect of the one person he most wanted to keep it with. The unshakable man, grounded in himself, stable regardless of conditions, present without needing, becomes the one thing most relationships never have. An anchor. Stop reacting, stop over-interpreting, stop chasing a stability that can only be built, never chased. Become the man who doesn't move, and watch everything, adjust to him.